the church office has been going for about 4 or 5 years since COVID, and it was a project that really came out of COVID to serve leaders who didn't have somebody in administration and operations. That was a real kind of heart behind it, and the more we've got to kind of into this space and just being able to encourage people. There is so many people in behind the scenes ministry, whether you're in roles of a treasurer, trustee, you're volunteering for a church, taking on some kind of aspect of management. We've just realized there's just not a whole bunch of stuff to encourage you, is there, and equip you in the same way that there are for other ministry, team leaders. And I think that's probably true,
Yeah,
isn't it, Anna?
yeah,
So
definitely
our
space
heart
there.
isn't it, to put something together. And so Anna, fill us in from your perspective on the Good Church Management course, and what you're thinking about it and why we've sort of done it.
I'm really excited about it. From my perspective, I'm in charge of ops at Cornerstone Collective, which runs a few churches in Merseyside. And I stepped into this role in employment terms 5 years ago with a reasonable level of understanding of charity and things like that. I hadn't been a trustee before, but in terms of actual practicality, exactly what needs doing, in what way, with what tool, for what purpose, and for what reason. Um, a lot of my job I've had to learn as I've gone along. I've kind
Yeah.
of, okay, I need to do this. This needs to be done. How am I going to do it? Is there anything out there that can help me do that? Um, and so the aim of the Good Church Management course is, from my perspective anyway, is pulling on some of that experience and a huge amount of experience from your perspective and other people we've had involved in devising the course, is actually to put together a suite of training modules that actually can help on a practical level,
Yeah.
bring up some ideas and some new ways of thinking, or maybe some new opportunities for people in roles like ours to be able to be really effective in enabling the gospel ministry to take place in our local church context. Um, so yeah, I'm really excited to see how
Yeah.
this helps other people who have got administrative roles, operations roles. Um, and I think there's things in it that will benefit people with loads of experience, because there's stuff in there which might be different to what you've been doing over the years that you've been doing your role, but there's also lots in there for people who are relatively new into the role and exploring how to set this up or how to manage it really well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how it's going to
Yeah.
benefit different people
Yeah.
on that level.
It's going to be great. And I think one of the things that we've been doing since we've been working with, hundreds of churches over the last 4 or 5 years, we've kind of been developing a model, been developing resources. And what you realize, there's so many different denominations, so many
Yeah,
different sized churches, so many different leaders who have different gifts, that actually to manage a church is actually quite a complicated thing. And you can't just go, right, here's the training, off you go. And so I think
yeah,
that the course has really taken some time to think about, what people need at different stages in their church sizes. So a church of 50, having to do some of the same management exercises and operations as a church of 100, who might be running the same kind of, governance and legal responsibilities and all those aspects. So there's a different number of churches, the models make a difference, and I think all of that's been taken into consideration. And I think on the church office, our heart, isn't it, is, right from the start, I think we've always said good church management doesn't just happen by one person, that it
absolutely.
that it takes a team of people in churches, and you wholeheartedly agree with that as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, my sort of title is a director. That's the operations director aspect, and so it's definitely my role to look into what needs to be done and to start thinking about how that could be executed, how that could be managed in a way which is going to be efficient and effective. But I couldn't do it without other people involved. It
Yeah.
needs to have involvement and buy-in from other people, whether that be staff members, or whether that be volunteers, or whether it be a mix of both. That team approach is absolutely key. One, for the practical execution of what we're doing, but two, also just for actually helping everybody involved to feel a part of enabling gospel ministry in a way which, yeah, I think it would be tough to do that as an
Yeah,
individual on your own all the time. The
yeah,
weight of that, I think, would be um, less than ideal in terms of feeling that joy of serving in ministry. So yeah, team approach is
yeah.
definitely something to work for.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, for vicars or for ministers or senior pastors, they have a responsibility to oversee, don't they? And to oversee
Yeah,
staff and to oversee the operations, to help oversee the finances, the resources. So every there's different layers to this, isn't there? So you may not
yeah,
be executing the finances and the record keeping and all of that, but actually you do need to have a big picture of the finance, and
yeah,
how the church is doing in order to lead that church effectively. And so the course has been written then for people in lots of different roles. So you could be somebody coming out of training and theological training, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to my first job. I'm going in as a new person with relatively little experience. The Good Church Management course will give you just that real breadth of what are some of the things you need to be thinking about. What are some of the things that you may not do everything, but you need to have a growing awareness of, finances, policy, procedure, communication, how people's data are managed, all these things that we do on a day-to-day basis. We want leaders to have that awareness so that they can then delegate those responsibilities out well, and could say to somebody in their church who's a PCC member or trustee, right, go on this Good Church Management course. Would you have a look at module on, the policy and procedure, and be able to be equipped in going to then go, right, I could help deliver that in our church.
yeah,
So we've got new people, we've got senior pastors who go, this is not something I'm good at. This is not
yeah,
something I'm strong in. I need some help. I can't delegate it without understanding it a bit more. And we're meeting lots of leaders who are saying, can you equip us in this? Um, their training is like 3 hours of training, safeguarding, an hour on finances, and maybe an hour on some tools that they would help them use, data protection. But that's it sometimes, and off you.
yeah. Well, part of my role and our structure up in Liverpool is that we have a heart to plant churches or to revitalise churches across Merseyside. And the advantage of our model is that we've got me and other people involved to help do the practical back office type work. But I, I don't allow, a bit too authoritative, but my take on it is that I want the people leading the plant, the person leading the plant or the revitalization, to be involved in the planning of back office work, for them
Yeah,
to know what the back office requirements are. So um, it's not they don't go and plant a church just focusing on the theology, just focus on the pastoral side of it. They need to understand, in my opinion, what needs to go on to run their church well,
yeah,
so that then they can help that process. They don't need to do it all if they've got people to
yeah,
do the lead work for them, but they need to know what needs to be done
yeah,
in order to help get that done.
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm very much an advocate for making sure that people who are on that leadership side of the church are as aware as they possibly can be about what's needed from a practical level for managing a church, so that then they can outsource that to be done
yeah.
effectively, to then enable them to focus on what they need to focus on
Yeah.
ministry wise.
Absolutely right. And I think the more work we've done with leaders, particularly, they found the model, they found some of the training that we've done in person as we've gone out and tested it in various different places. They've gone, man, this is so helpful. This just helps me to know, right, yeah, where I need to delegate, where some of my weaknesses are as a leader, and then where I can, put in the right structure on the right people in the right place to do the work well. So I think the reality is every church needs to be managed. I don't. I think there'll be very few leaders who disagree with that. Um,
Yeah,
and the management of better supports our mission. It better stewards our resources. When we add a bit of process in, just good decisions are made, and we've got this kind of longevity of the church, haven't we? That continues, that plans well, that delivers well, that reviews well, that learns and grows and develops, and again, all of those things and those aspects are built in into the course. So it offers training, but it also offers lots of practical review and reflection, doesn't it, as you go along? So
Yeah,
and one of the things that we'd love to do is be able to make the course not just available to one individual in a church who's going to be doing the majority of it, but we also want to make it available for a team or a team of
yeah,
volunteers, so that there are the people who are doing different aspects of church management also get the opportunity to access the content, by buying it for, through the church. And I think that will make a difference, won't it?
definitely. There's various practical things that we've built into the course, which actually would be more beneficial and effective if people were able to complete that as a team rather than just on their own. There's still a benefit if you're doing it on your own, absolutely. But there's certain areas where actually understanding what your leaders are thinking of doing and what their vision is going to help you apply that practical aspect of the course as well. Um, so yeah, doing it as a group of people or bringing people in for certain points in the course. You might do it as an individual for the mainstay of it, but then bring in other people to collaborate with at key points. There's lots of flexibility about how it's approached, but our heart is for it to benefit the church as a whole. So that means, if it works to do a team approach, then great.
Yeah. And our heart, if you're a leader listening to this, our heart for you is that this course would help liberate you to do ministry and further ministry. Um, and we often take that example in Acts 6, and where, those early apostles they give the responsibility to Stephen and his colleagues, and they take care of the feeding of the widows, and they are released to do that work of ministry, to give themselves to the word and prayer. And throughout the training, we're bringing that back, saying, we want leaders to be giving themselves to the word and prayer. That's
Yeah,
our heart. That's why
yeah,
we exist, to release you to be able to do more and what God's called you to do. And there's loads of stats flying around at the minute of the percentage of time that leaders are spending doing administrative and operation stuff. It's quite significant. It's over 50% in
yeah,
places, and that's quite a scary percentage to talk through. um but actually to flip that and say, well, if you could use that, if we were to take that work off you and you were to gain a day and a half, 2 days, which for some people that is, what
yeah,
difference could you make in your church, in the life of the members, the congregation, in your ability to reach out with your mission and vision? It's quite significant. So for us, we want leaders to go through this course, to access it, and then to distribute it to their teams, to their volunteers, to their trustees, to their PCCs,
yeah.
wherever they think there could be really useful in equipping people. So for me, I'd love for this starting point for this to be leaders to go, right, we need to access this. I need to go through this as a leader and see where, okay, these are the things that we need to be doing. These are the expectations from outside. These are the things that we need to be managing really well. Throughout the course, there are examples and learning opportunities that will help you reflect and bring your own kind of review in a way to some of your back office systems and processes. And maybe the people that you're even choosing to do some of those roles, maybe that, looking at our course, maybe will change the kind of people that you're looking for. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, isn't there?
There is, yeah. And I think that's part of what makes the church office stand out from the crowd, if you like, in the sense of trying to support the back office work of churches, but from the perspective of leaders, not just the people who
Yeah,
we are expecting to do that back office work. We
yeah,
want we want ownership of the need for churches to be managed well,
yeah,
to come from the top down in terms of management structures, in terms of leadership structures in churches, however that structure looks in terms of different denominations, independent churches. Um, yeah, we have a real heart for the leaders to get on board with the needs of managing churches well, to then allow that to happen
yeah,
in a way which works well in your local context.
yeah. It's great. And I think a couple of leaders that I've worked with, who are in a situation where they've hired an administrator or manager, um, into kind of maybe a part-time role, because they've realized how important this is. And as they've gone through the content, they've gone, actually, yeah, this is a burden that I'm carrying. I can't just give it to a volunteer because we need a bit of dedicated time in the church. There's things that need to happen every week. Um,
Yeah.
and they've gone and appointed somebody. And then through the process, the privilege that we have of working with people for maybe 6 months or a year, you go back and revisit, how's that church doing since appointing somebody into that role? And what you capture is real life and joy from that leader who goes, man, this has changed everything for me. And that is a joy. And
Absolutely.
I love that because they've gone through the content with us, they've engaged with us as a leader, and then it's flowed downwards into a whole bunch of staff and volunteers, and we can really see the fruit and the effectiveness of it. So
And it also provides that opportunity for other people who have a heart for ministry, but perhaps not on the front line ministry that we would allocate to a pastor or a vicar, um, to actually be involved in helping that ministry take place, but just in a way which looks a bit different.
yeah,
There are lots of people who would love to serve their church and serve the Lord as a result, through making sure that the back office work is done well.
yeah,
That is part of ministry,
yeah,
and to enable churches to see that and then go, okay, yeah, let's bring these people in, let's
yeah,
allow them that privilege and that opportunity as well. That's a real joy as well.
yeah,
That's my experience of
yeah.
my role. It's something which is an absolute privilege to be able to do, um, and to see the church,
Mm.
to contribute to the church flourishing as a result.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think one of the things that leaders have fed back to me in saying, as they've encouraged us to put the course together, is that it's great because they recognize the need for the management, good church management, but they don't want to be the responsible person for training. And so they hire somebody. They feel that obligation of, right, I've got to train them, and actually we can be that piece that goes, oh, actually,
Yeah,
there's a course here that we've
yeah,
looked at and we've gone, yeah, we agree with their approach. There's a biblical approach. There's a real heart for the gospel ministry to go forward. And here's a course that you can release those kind of administrators and operations people and gifted people to be equipped in that way. So I think there's two aspects to it, isn't it? And I think if there was a
yeah.
course available when you started 5 years ago, you would have jumped at it, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned a lot, but it's been a steep learning curve, of trying to explore things. So yeah, I 100% would have jumped on this course if I was, if it was available back then.
Yeah. And so the strengths for us is we love leaders. Our heart is to get behind leaders and to
Yeah.
serve churches. We know there's an administrative burden. The role. If you're a charity, the burden and the complexity of all of that is growing and will continue to grow. And so you do need some support and some dedicated time and gifting in this area. And if you've got people in your church who may not even be in the role yet, again, this is a kind of course that you can sign up to and begin to start to put some volunteer people through to say, is this something that you might feel like you're gifted in as well, to help assess people in their thinking and their approach? And yeah, I think I can deliver this on my safeguarding role or my policy and procedure role. I
Yeah.
think I've got the skills to be able to do that, and that's been backed up by the training. So um yeah, I'm super excited about it, and obviously we've been involved in writing it, putting it together. We've been on the ground with churches. We've been out there looking and testing it and seeing it. So we're big fans of it, and God's been kind to us, isn't He, in providing the funding, providing the
Yeah.
time, providing
Yeah.
churches and leaders and support. Um, like we've just been overwhelmed with grace. And we want this course not to be about the church office and growing this
Yeah.
ministry, but about churches being more effective and God being glorified. And if
Yeah.
you're interested in our motivation behind this is what we're about. This
Yeah.
isn't about making a name or growing the church office. Those things are secondary to us. We want Christ to be glorified. We want churches to be equipped and churches to be way more effective. And we see this connection between sort of practical ministry, management stuff to the churches flourishing in health, churches flourishing in growth, and we want that to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing. So if that helps you to get to know a little bit of us and our motivation, then that's cool. Talking about kind of extra support through the course and
Yeah.
coaching. Fill us in a bit on that, Anna. What's our plan on that?
Yeah, so as we mentioned before, part of the way the course is structured is that as we go through different sections of it, there are some practical activities for you to engage with and to complete. Um, and those will help hopefully bring you to a point of understanding how you can improve the church management, what things you could do practically to help that. But some of that we're aware might be like, oh, yeah, okay, I've done the course. That's a really interesting idea. I'd love to be able to do that. But I'm really not quite sure how to start, or
Yeah,
I feel like it's just such a broad topic, finances can be one of the things that's big. Policy and procedure can be huge, depending
yeah,
on where you're at in terms of context, for example. And so, what we've built into the price of the course is a coaching session with one of the church office team, and you can choose when you have that, in terms of whether you want it at the end of the course or whether you want to have it during part of the course. If a particular topic area comes up, like this is what I need, but I
yeah,
don't know where to start sorting it out,
yeah,
we would be delighted for you to meet with us one to one on a call and just to help coach you through approaching making the changes that you need to have that area of your church managed better. And so that's already built into the course itself. But we do then have the opportunity into the future. So say you've completed the whole course and that's been really helpful, but again, you recognise through this, actually, there's quite a lot of work for us to do here to really get our church to a place of health in terms of management, back office management. So we are then able to offer different options in terms of coaching and mentoring, coming alongside people, a set number of coaching sessions as an initial starting point, and then take it from there. So what we really don't want people to be doing is to complete this course and then feel like, oh, I don't know where to start.
yeah,
I'm on my own again.
yeah,
Because as much as we would love this to be a team approach, we are also aware that lots of people just don't have that. They don't
yeah,
have that team opportunity. So we would like to be available to step in to walk alongside you, for further coaching, further mentoring in whatever way that would be helpful, so we can shape that to your needs and your local context.
yeah.
Um, so that the course again is really practical in its application in the longer term. So yeah, hopefully that is a helpful addition to the things that we're offering at the church
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, and all of that means that the costs and stuff can be, if you need 4 or 5 coaching sessions, then there's going to cost you slightly more. But for some people who access it, there may be 2 or 3 aspects of the course that they really need help in. And like Anna's saying, we can focus our time and support you in those areas. And we've got a range of practitioners who've got experience, and so we can match you up to different people, and to support you in that. So those are available. You get one included in the course, and then you can book
Yeah.
on and get some of the regular stuff. And I think what we've tried to do in the course as well is really, this is kind of our one big shot of doing this well. And we've got a whole bunch of other things that we're saying, right, let's signpost you to this. This is something that we've used that's really useful.
Yeah.
And so you'll not only get access to our content and what we've been trying to put together, but also to what's broader, out there and in different ways. And so there's other people who are doing some great stuff on governance, and we will signpost you to those things as well. So you're getting an access to create a really good foundation in your church in terms of good church management, and that would be great. And for some churches that go through this, we get a lot of requests to provide churches with a back office review, and we
Yeah.
may not have talked so openly about that on the podcast before, but this is really a kind of opportunity to have a practitioner come to site, come to church, to spend some time with the church leaders, the team, the volunteers, and to be able to conduct kind of what we call a back office review that will look at a whole bunch of different aspects of the church and bring some kind of on-site, very specific, detailed kind of analysis and also recommendations of how you could improve. And so some people have done a back office review and then have had some training. Others have had training and then gone, oh, we need a back office review.
Yeah.
Others have gone, we need a back office review, we need coaching, we need training, we need it all.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. But we've kind of structured it and broken it down into different aspects so that people can have a look at that and see what there is. I mean, we've got something like eight churches on a waiting list for more back office reviews. So they have become very popular, and we'll probably end up doing about 20 this year to serve churches. So again, these are here. There's a range of tools. There's a range of services that can serve you, and they do overlap and they do work together. So again, if you're feeling, if you're a church leader, particularly listening to this, you're thinking, man, I need some help, then please do get in touch, and there are lots of options.